All right. Thank you for coming in, checking out the Black Zombie YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about putting, not necessarily technique in putting and not necessarily like how you should putt. I want to change your mind on what the target actually looks like, what your target actually is. I think most disc golfers make the mistake and think that hitting the chains is the goal to make the disc in the basket. I want to change your mind and make you think about basketball. In basketball, you have a backboard, right? You can do a swoosh, of course, which in this case it would be no chains. But if you're going to hit the backboard in basketball, you don't just throw wildly at the backboard because it could shoot out any which direction. Sometimes it goes in. But I want you to start thinking when you're trying to make a putt, you're hitting the chains for it to go in. So your target is inside of this circle. The pan, the top of the pan here. Your goal, kind of like the hoop of a basketball goal, is here to get inside this. A lot of people, when they're putting, they putt straight through, hit the chains, and of course it falls in often. But most people, when they miss a putt, besides missing left or right, is they hit the pan. Why is that? One, they cut themselves short. When they're putting, they're oftentimes here and putting straight there, and that's always where they're putting, right? So they have a lot of missed space here. So it's almost like they just lowered this down so you have a smaller space to putt in. Also, you're not really targeting inside the basket, you're targeting through the basket, which that's still a good way to putt. Still people will argue that and say, hey, putting through the basket is what you want to do, which kind of true, except you want to putt through the basket in such a way you're actually trying to get inside the basket. That way if you miss the basket, it goes here and not flying further, because you've seen those people, the players, maybe yourself, had those double, triple putts because you keep throwing through or past the basket. I want you to start thinking, like in basketball, you're trying to get inside of the hoop. This is like if you think of it like a basketball goal, upside down, these are metal nets. So we have metal nets that are our backboard that you hit for the disc to fall into the basket. I did a study, just myself in my backyard, threw over 1,000 putts, 100 putt increments 10 times, did the math, 85+% on average that I missed up or down was the pan. Less than 15%, 10% hit the top. That tells me, even me knowing that I'm trying to get inside of this circle, like throwing a basketball, this tells me a lot of players probably hit this. I'd like to see the percentage or numbers if it's out there. Somebody tell me. When people miss top or bottom, top or pan, I bet it is 80, 90% of the time you hit here. And how bad does that feel when you're playing around when you don't give it and it hits right here? Honestly, a miss is a miss, but it feels better when you're hitting the top. Of course, you don't want to hit sides either, but I'm just specifically talking about top versus bottom and what your target should be. Now again, in basketball, you're trying to hit the backboard often for a backboard swoosh or backboard shot, and you're oftentimes thinking about the spin in basketball. So your spin might be like a nose down or nose up, so you have a forward spin or a back spin when you're doing a shot to try to hit a certain part of the backboard to go in the basket or go into the basketball hoop. I want you to think about trying to get in this circle, still throwing through, but you're going to miss a lot. Like even if you throw it past the basket and miss everything, if you're aiming for this circle right here, for the most part, you're not going to go out. When I did some studies too, as far as my putting, it was most of them, when I missed the basket completely, it was like 8 feet out. That's when I was putting from a little bit higher position, trying to get inside the basket. When I was throwing flat through, I was going 15 feet, almost double. So you'll see a lot of the pros, a lot of players, maybe even yourself, when you're putting, you've got the basket, you're right here, but let's pretend I'm further back and you're just going straight in, right? That was pretty hard. So if I missed, it'd probably go 15 feet past. So when you're putting, I want you to not only think about trying to get it into the chains, which is all different kinds of people, like myself included, will say, hey, pick a chain. You know, do the disc dot, do the zombie balls, or whatever you have you're focusing on. Kind of throw through the chains, right? Still do that, but you have to be mindful that this is a backboard like in basketball, and it's going to knock it into the basket, which is the hoop in basketball, to get it in here. So you don't want to throw so hard or so straight or too low to have a smaller area. You want to try to like hit it so it's going down into the basket, because you're trying to get, this is your target, not this. If you aim for this all day long, one, you're going to almost always hit a little bit low from the percentages, the numbers I've run. You don't want to hit too high, obviously, either. But if you can change that angle instead of going straight through, because you're fighting gravity, obviously, because as you throw it, whether it's wind or whatnot, but gravity is pushing that disc down. So gravity's on your side, you release the disc a little bit further, so you have more chance for, as it falls, whether the wind pushes it, gravity or whatnot, it's going to come into the chains. Now you can do your own study and see if I'm right. Throw 100 putts. You know, chalk up how many you miss left, miss right, but specifically how many you hit top and bottom. Don't change your putting, just run the numbers. I bet 80% of your putts that you miss, up or down, are the pan. Now, if you start just thinking, just change the mindset of this basket being like a basketball hoop that's kind of upside down. This is your backboard. You're trying to get inside of here. You're not trying to get through here. You're trying to get this to drop into here. And I think that's one of the big mistakes a lot of us make. And this is a good way for you to shave strokes off your game. I'll give more details on it. I like to show some examples. Just next time you go putt, even if it's the backyard or practicing or playing around, think about, like, even when you're throwing like crumbled piece of paper and you try to make a shot, it's a lot less likely to make the shot if you throw it straight at the bucket. But usually when you have the form, when you're like a professional paper thrower, you do a little bit of arch. That arch allows the paper in the air to come over into the trash can and has a better chance, because that opening opens up as it arcs over. If you go straight in, you have less of a target. Same thing with this. Got gravity pushing your disc down, you possibly got air pushing your disc down. Most of your putts are probably hitting here. So one, aim a little bit higher, but two, your release point needs to be higher. A lot of people, when they're putting, their release points are here, here, which fine, it works good, especially if it's a 5 or 10 foot putt. But as you move back, this is harder to keep, because you have to throw it harder to keep it in the air, to keep it from hitting the pan or hitting here and just barely getting in. You want to come in nose down and higher. You'll see a lot of the pros, when they're putting, they're actually releasing the disc not from this close, releasing the disc up here. So they're like this. There's a reason for that. They actually are trying to hit the basket, the circle here, your bucket, they're trying to get it inside of here, not just throwing through. So keep that in mind next time you're putting. When you're practicing, don't just jam them in there. Think about trying to make the, even if you're short, even if you just do this and you miss, that's okay, because you really want to work up to where you're up and down, until you get that trajectory. You can actually have your power putt like you normally do, this little fast thing like this, but you can do it in the air so it glides and it comes down. So again, this is your bucket, your trash can where you throw the paper in. You want that disc to be coming in more like this, not this. You miss this way, that disc can fly a lot further than if you're putting and it's coming over the top and hitting. If you miss and it's coming over, so if you miss totally and it's coming down, guess what? It lands here. Because you're aiming for the bucket. This is your bucket. This is your hoop. This is how you get buckets. These are your metal nets. This is your background or your backboard like in basketball. So now, every time you see a basket, think of it, I can't say it enough, this is your target. This is just your backboard to get inside the target. Don't throw 40-mile-an-hour putt and try to hit this to fall in. It does catch them and can, but if you throw it in a position where it's kind of arcing, you're gonna more likely hit and fall into the bucket like it should. We're gonna have some more tips on putting. I'll break this down a little bit more. I know it's a mind jump to try to understand looking at something different, but remember, your target is here. This bucket is your target, not smashing the chains, which a lot of us say, which I say, kill the chains, hit the target. Yes, but you want to make sure you know that you're hitting this to go inside the basket. All right, thanks for tuning in. Much more coming up.